Hello. Hopefully we are alive now. All I need to do is give you all the link. I apologize for those of you watching later and seeing me fumble and bumble around, but that's kind of the where we are this morning. I want to thank everybody for their patience, and I appreciate the questions you sent me over email. I do think over the course of today we will get those answered. Um, so yes, let's go ahead and give you the link. And there was some streamception there. I'm sorry. All right, let's go ahead and get the link set up. Hold on a minute. I'm going to switch the image to something that's not the syllabus for a second. And that way you don't see like all of the information that you're not supposed to see as a student. How about that picture right there? Excellent. Let's go ahead and make the link. Okay. Broadcast link, exclamation point. Here's the link. You can use this anytime. Watch the first class session. See you Wednesday. There we go. Send a copy of this announcement out immediately. Okay, excellent. That should be all we need to see. Go ahead and switch back to our display. Okay, and there's Blackboard, and here's the syllabus. So, hello and welcome to our first day of class. As my email mentioned, my wife had given birth actually on, well, I guess it was technically Saturday morning, Friday night, whatever. And I need to look after her for a little while until her mother gets into town. This was totally unplanned. Well, I mean, the baby was planned. Ooh, man, I'm just digging myself in a hole, aren't I? But the situation surrounding the birth was unplanned. I was planning on coming in today, pretty much right up until even after the baby was born. Pretty much right up until, well, when I emailed you all last evening. I apologize for that. I see that there is a few of you watching now, so if you're able to say hello, you can say hello in the chat. Anyway, we're just going to go over the syllabus today and talk about what the course is, how it's structured, yeah, and that's probably about it. Answer any of the questions you have. Like I said, I think the questions I received over email when I contacted y'all yesterday will be asked and answered today or during this broadcast. So thank you. So again, thank you though for sending those questions to me. And if we don't get to it, just type something in chat or send me another email. I will be answering email in a haphazard fashion, but I will be answering it today. Anyway, so I'm your instructor. I'm Dallas Pike. Really, I don't know why they have us put our degree information up here, but the good thing that you need to know is that I am the assistant director of debate here at Ball State. The director of debate, Mike Bauer, teaches the other Comm 220 section. I actually end up teaching 3 of the Comm 220 debate sections. We coach the debate team. I myself have been in debate for competitive academic debate, that is, for since the year 2000. So that's 18 years. So I like to think I know what I'm doing, but just like any other, I don't know, I'll go ahead and say expert. I'm really just giving you advice based on my experiences, and your mileage may vary. But of course, the goal of the class, or one of them, we can just go ahead and skip on down here, um, is to help you improve your argumentation skills. There's a couple of specific things that we're going to do to achieve that. First, we're going to talk about the Toulmin model of argument. Many of you have taken Comm 210. Might be already familiar with this term, Toulmin model. We use the exact same model in here, so in a way that might be a bit of a review. But we're going to apply it to a variety of situations that go a little bit beyond just kind of making a persuasive speech. We're going to apply that model in terms of, what does it mean if this part is missing? How do you address somebody who maybe has, 2 claims and only one set of evidence and things like that. So it's more nuanced than what you are used to or what you saw in Com 210, but nonetheless, we go over that. We talk about how to use it in a debate, trying to persuade someone kind of context. We are going to create and present sound arguments. Um, and we're also going to effectively research using library resources and technology. I think that's something they put in there because we kind of have to do that. So it's like an easy goal to tick off. But yeah, there will be some research um, as a result of, or rather, as a natural consequence of this course. Uh, Spoiler alert, one of the things of the Toolman model of argument is this thing called data, or we also can say evidence. Um, so we need to be acquiring that through through research. We usually just use the electronic databases, but we will be visiting the library probably a couple of times during the semester to work on things. It's not like we're going to go through the microfiche or something like that. We're just really going to be using library resources and technology. You need to understand valid, or we will be understanding valid and invalid forms of reasoning. We're going to start that on Wednesday, and it's really just peppered throughout the course, where we're going to talk about something called entimemes, which, unlike just the regular memes without the enti in front, entimemes are arguments or claims that their suppositions or their assumptions are not declared. And we'll talk about that later, but that's, again, going to be looking at what might be valid and invalid in terms of that. So, and we talk about that throughout the semester. We also talk about kind of the more conventional things, again, that you might have heard from Com 210, things like ad hominem, um, non sequitur, uh, logical fallacies, more traditionally, termed as Latin terms as well. But there's just so much more than that. In any case, we'll also develop team working skills, and this is sometimes when I lose a couple people. We do have team projects in here, and when I say team, I mean you will be working with one other student on your debate project. So for the first debate, unless you really have a strong preference that you make known to me about someone you do or do not want to work with, I more or less pair you together randomly based on how I feel your personalities are. And of course, that works wonders if you ask questions in class and chat. I try to chat people up before class starts and get an understanding of people, and I like to think I make good choices, but that first debate, I just more or less, if it's not, let's just say it's random. Sometimes there's a reason behind it, and sometimes the reason is I have 2 people left over, and you 2 are it, and I will never disclose why or how you get what you get. But anyway, you do have an opportunity though to choose your own partner. And again, you work in primarily in groups of 2. If there's a group of 4 that wants to work together, I have allowed that also. Um, Usually groups of 6 do not work out. Sorry. So if you've got yourself 5 buddies you want to work with, you're just going to have to rotate through them as the semester goes on. But yeah, so you'll be working with one other student primarily through the semester. It kind of has to go that way. Debate is, and this will be a recurring theme and something that I'll say throughout the semester. Debate is a hard class to take, so I make it easy to pass. But it is a hard class to take, and that's why you work with a partner. There's just a lot of things to keep track of when you're debating. Having someone there who's not worried about speaking next to be your buddy and help you um, keep notes and keep your head straight it's trust me, it's just more of a help than it is a hindrance. But like in any other teamwork based things, there's going to be a person or people that maybe get luckier with their partner than they should, and others that get cursed with a partner that they probably shouldn't have. Also, I apologize in advance, and again remind you that especially for the first debate, unless you make a preference known to me, I'm more or less going to put you together randomly based on where you sit in the classroom or how I really do try to put people together that I think will work well together. But I make no promises, and I don't disclose when I do put people together. I don't disclose why I did, because usually the reasoning is you sit next to each other. You're the last two people left over. Those kinds of things. So, but as we get to meet, we'll have plenty of class meetings before our first debate. So we'll get to, hopefully many of you will develop a preference from which we can cut down on how many people I need to put together. Okay, ranting about that aside, we'll more efficiently and effectively use critical thinking and or problem solving skills. So one of the things that we do in here, one of the major projects, is actually what we call a policy case, in which we take a real life, we'll call it a dilemma. It'll be phrased in something that's controversial, so something like the United States federal government should crack down on illegal immigration. Like, that would be a resolution or a topic we would debate. And then the person that is in favor of that resolution will create a policy plan meant to do just that. And then, of course, their opponents would argue why that plan is impractical, or maybe why the resolution is not in spirit with American values, or whatever they can think of. We'll tackle how you can engage that kind of thing later. But that's kind of just an example, right? We'll be practicing problem solving and critical thinking skills. And we'll, of course, better understand current issues and controversies. One of the things I make sure to do as an instructor is that either we're talking about something timeless or we're talking about something timely. So don't worry, we're probably not going to have a debate about Star Trek: The Next Generation. Is this episode better than that episode? Because you probably haven't watched the Star Trek: Next Generation, right? So we'll talk about things that are happening now, or we'll talk about things that are just kind of ever-present concerns for our society. Okay, so the course rationale here, again, the design here is to enhance your ability to use critical thinking skills, create and identify arguments, as well as how to present and refute arguments. Here's a nice little quote here that we pulled out from our debate competitive association. But the idea behind it is that you don't necessarily know what you'll be doing in life, and this skill will advance your career prospects in everything, and I mean that seriously. I know that many of you are English education majors. There's going to be a time when you're talking about what book you want, or at least as a department, maybe what textbook you want to have, and there's going to be, in your mind, a couple of losers and a good winner of a textbook. And you realize that other people do not feel the same, and so you need to influence and persuade them, because you are genuinely convinced that this particular textbook would be the best for the students at your school, right? And so it's kind of your professional obligation then, if you truly believe that, to make sure that students get the materials that you feel are most appropriate. And so you would need to advocate and develop these advocacy skills as part of your pre-professional training. Similarly, if you're a comm major, you are qualified actually for a variety of professions, almost all of which involve some kind of persuasive speaking. Whether you're going to be a consultant, which you have to convince somebody that there's a problem with communication at their institution and that they need to improve it by doing X, Y, and Z. I mean, that goes right back to that whole policy plan exercise that we'll be doing as a project. Long story short, all of you need this. I don't care if you're an architecture major. You've got to pitch your building if you're an architecture major, so you've got to use debate and argumentation skills there. Teachers, again, you're going to use it. Comm majors, you're going to have a slew of occupations you could have, that all of which will require at some point making some kind of a policy statement or plan of action that you would then need to advocate and convince others of. And that's kind of where this course is geared. Here are some topics we'll talk about: what constitutes an argument, how to create, refute, and present arguments. And the big thing here I want to highlight here is that debate is a decision-making process. A lot of people think about debates because there's two sides, and it is an adversarial process, but that doesn't mean it's a hostile process. And we can talk about the fine meanings of these things as we get into the material on Wednesday. But it's ultimately about decision making. It's not really about quote unquote having your way. Okay, you as an advocate, you want the best decision to be made possible. Just like a lawyer in court, even if they think that their client is guilty of the crime, you still want to be absolutely rock solid sure that person did it if you're going to deprive them of their freedom or worse. And so, regardless of how they feel about their client, they present the most dogged, skeptical defense possible for the jury so that when they do convict, everybody's sure that that's the right decision to make. And that's kind of the attitude you should take towards these topics, is that while it might be nice or gratifying to quote unquote win the debate, um, your role is really to present as many things for your side and advocate for your side as thoroughly as possible and as reasonable as possible, or make your side as reasonable as possible, um, so that when the decision is made, everybody is in the room is pretty convinced that it's the correct decision to make. Um, and you'll see that when there's no on our rubrics for debate, there's no spot for did the student win this debate, or anything like that. You don't need to quote unquote win debates in order to get a good grade. I'm really just looking at these things in terms of how I evaluate you. Do you have arguments that are complete? And are you refuting and presenting your arguments effectively? That's basically all that I'm looking at. I don't care necessarily how much time you take. I don't care about your delivery so much. There's not even, again, a spot for a delivery on the rubric. I don't necessarily care if your classmates vote for you in terms of who won this debate. I will ask after every debate, like, who do you think won and why? And your classmates will raise their hands for one team or the other, and we'll have a discussion about why they made the decisions they did. A lot of times it's a split decision, but a lot of times it's not. And it might seem crazy now, but even in those times where it's not so much of a split decision, I'll usually ask, was like, who saw the legitimacy of side X, and people will speak up and say, yeah, I was really persuaded by this argument until this, that, or the other thing. So every debate's close, even if it doesn't look like it is. At least if you do it right. Now, there are some times where people don't necessarily take their role seriously, but we won't talk about that right now. All right, we won't worry about it. Course content's going to be kind of theoretical, but it's also going to be applied. This is one of the more practical courses that we offer here in this department. It's a skills-based course, so that means when I'm talking about the Toulmin model, imminently you're about to use it. It's not something that it's like a theoretical lens that you can just kind of look at and maybe write an essay about. You're going to use everything that we talk about in here. If we go over again, like logical fallacies, it's the hope that by knowing what those are, you are looking at your opponent's arguments and checking them that they are not logically flawed in some way. Course text is my vision that you do not need to buy anything for this course other than maybe some basic office supplies. You will need at some point to have like a folder for organization and all that kind of jazz. I kind of assume that you were aware of that. So other than stuff like that, you shouldn't buy anything for the course. Anything that we need to read or watch, I will provide to you. The student will be evaluated in 3 areas over the course. We have oral presentation, which of course is the primary way that we're going to be doing things. A team debate in which a team of 2 students advance and refute arguments. Topics for debate will be decided by you from a short list of 3 to 4 topics the instructor has already selected. Again, I will try to pick something either timeless or timely in terms of these 3 to 4 topics, and then outside of that, you all decide. Usually these topics will be on current issues and have already been used by formal debate associations or by real-world public or social figures, right? Then we have what I call argumentation days, my little play on words there. Students will be evaluated based on their dedication and ability to work with their argumentation partner or group. This means you are present during work days with your partner. You contribute regularly to the evidence pool, the 2 of you, or in the certain case of the last project, the general class uses, and you attend any other workshop sessions during our scheduled class period. In other words, this is kind of the short version of the attendance policy, even though we're not going over on the schedule anyway something new. It is expected that you will be there to work with your partner so that you can, well, work with your partner. I know that college is a busy time. I know that there are a lot of competing priorities, and this time at 10 a.m. Monday, Wednesday, Fridays is the time you have for this class. I don't usually require you to do anything outside of this time. It really is my vision that we will do most of the work during our class time, but that's the other part of it, is that if you're not in class to do that work, then I don't feel justified in giving you that grade. And again, debate is a hard class to take. I know it's going to be difficult sometimes to show up and argue with your partner and then argue with your opponent. I understand that's difficult, but I do, like I said, I kind of make the class easy to pass with the way that I conceive of grading. It's not an easy grade. I'm a detail oriented, and I think anybody who's taken my class before will tell you that that my feedback generally is pretty detail oriented, but I don't take off points that much. I really am trying to have it both ways, where I can be detail oriented but also not a hard butt instructor. In any case, what I'm building up to here is that you need to be here in order to earn credit. If this class is 90% showing up, then because if you don't show up to work, you don't have a good oral presentation. If you don't show up to work, then we activate this more explicit attendance policy down here, and you get not a good grade. Please don't be one of those students that does an okay job on the written, like, research part of things, but you never show up to do your presentation and you never show up to work with your partner. Because if you do that, I'm not really going to let you pass the course. You have to do these two things. You have to give your presentation and you have to work with your partner. Otherwise, I won't pass you. I will find a way, which probably won't be that difficult, because again, we're going over stuff and advice in class. So if you don't show up to class, you're gonna kind of smell stinky underpants up here when you give your presentation. So again, just please show up. So that's attendance policy in short. Let's kind of look at some scary stuff. So again, as I was ranting, learning does not happen unless you're here. We all kind of quote unquote chose this time, and this is the only time I really have to work with you. And unless it's something somewhat minor, I'm usually not going to require you to do a lot of work outside of class. So if you are not here, you just simply can't make it up. Like, you can't make up time that you're not going to spend with your partner. And on those, like, partner work days, where there will be a couple days where there's nothing on the schedule except to work with your partner or your group of four, you can't really make up that time, because they're doing things, they're making decisions, they're putting things together, they're asking for my advice and getting what I hope is good advice. And you can't make that kind of synergy up. You really do have to be here unless you have some kind of recognized reason. Kind of like I have a recognized reason this morning, that this is a qualifying life event where I can take some leave, having a child. So similarly for you, contagious illnesses, injury, bereavement, that means you lost someone in your family, military service, or official university authorized travel. Bottom line, do not miss class unless you have one of these things. You have to work with a partner for this course. If your partner is absent on a debate day, you will have to debate solo. I was not grammatically sound when I wrote this, was I? Your extra effort will factor into your grade, and your partner's negligence will be reflected in their grade as well. A volunteer may also come forward to assist you with your permission. All right, so I'm not going to leave you high and dry necessarily, but the debates have to happen on the days that they are scheduled. So if you show up alone, you're doing it alone. And again, I will give you every benefit of the doubt when I grade you. It's not going to be horrible for you. It's going to be horrible for your partner, who is absent for no reason. And sometimes, they do have one of these reasons, in which case, we just kind of work out what happens, how you can try to make that up, even though I just kind of ranted how you can't make You can't get back that debate experience. But we'll try. There are things we can do. I won't go too much into that. But bottom line, if your partner's gone, you have to debate on the day that you debated anyway. If a whole team is absent on a debate day, I have the right to appoint another group to go in place of that absent team. I will usually ask for volunteers, and if you debate more than once, you will automatically receive a grade of A for the project, with preference, of course, given to volunteers. So, let's say that Sam and Taylor are scheduled to debate, but both Sam and Taylor are absent. I might call on Mike and Tyler, who are scheduled to go, let's say, on the next class session. They would debate twice over the course of the project. I will give you an A for that. All right. You still have to debate twice, but I will give you an A for that. Similarly, if you're a volunteer, like solo person, and like somebody's like, oh, I can't possibly debate this solo, I will ask the class, I'll say, hey, who's on the affirmative side of the resolution and would like to help out Terry with her debate today? And that individual would get an A because you still have to debate on your day, but you can also help someone else. And so, like I said, I kind of make this kind of easy, hopefully, to find people to assist you. If you fail to debate on your assigned day, I will give you a 0 or F for the project. That's, of course, assuming that you don't qualify in one of these. All right. If you have a university recognized excuse, then we will make other arrangements. But if you're just gone to be gone, if you're gone because, Bay is in town, that's not a university recognized excuse. I will give you a 0 F for the project if you do something like that. The instructor may also include, and this is a good part, this is my pop quiz addendum, is what I like to say. The instructor may also include a miscellaneous category of evaluation, up to 10% of the planned class grade, which may include quizzes, homework, or other class participation, debate, competitive debate, or other assignment, depending on his assessment of student progress and the need for more intense evaluation. I might give you things to read. If it occurs to me that you have not read them, we might have a pop quiz, because I didn't think we needed a pop quiz before showing up to class myself, but if it's pretty obvious nobody read the material, then I'm going to start asking you questions for right and wrong. And this is what is in the syllabus that allows me to do so. All right, so here's the actual point breakdown. We have a crossfire debate 1, which is worth 60 points. You can see this little thing over here, rubric ratings times 5. There's 12 points that you can get on the rubric. So you just kind of multiply each point you get by 5, and that gives you the score for the class. Again, you don't have to win a debate. We'll look at a rubric as we get closer to its respective project. But there's no space for winning a debate. There's no space for flawless delivery. You don't have to worry about stuff like that. It's all content oriented. Are your arguments complete? Is your research documented in a citation? Those kinds of ideas are on the rubric. So if you do a thorough job of that kind of stuff, you will do okay. We have a policy debate case. Again, that's something important that we'll do. Rubric ratings, no multiple. That's just straight up out of 50 points on that particular rubric. Then there's the debate event. Again, a rubric ratings times 5. Crossfire debate 2, which is our final debate, is again a rubric ratings times 5. So that's 120 points. That's a pretty big rubric, but it's the most it's your capstone. We'll talk about that here in a second. And then there's a couple of argumentation days in which I am taking formal attendance 4 points. And they're based on how much work you accomplish with your partner. So you need to create 3 arguments, for example, on this argumentation days 1. I'm giving you just 5 points per complete argument, and it is completion. I'm not checking it necessarily for whether it's a good argument. I just want it to be complete. Now, of course, since we're working on it in class, by all means, please ask me if this is a good or bad argument. But the actual points are based on whether or not you uploaded a complete Toolman model-based argument. And similar thing, attendance is 100 points. Lose 5 points every unexcused absence. That does add up if you are one of those people that doesn't like to show up to class, especially if you're going to miss class on one of these days, because then you're going to miss the 15 points here, the 10 points here, the 25 points here, plus the other 5 points. It adds up fast if you, for whatever reason, are not one of those people that wants to work with your partner in class. So please, like I said, last semester, the biggest problem with students that I had was people, or rather, not necessarily the biggest problem, but the biggest issue with why people were not getting A's or B's was because they were missing class time and they weren't excused and they were just kind of being gone to be gone. And we were doing things with partners that day. And I guess they just forgot this because they lost, 30 points all at one time. And that's kind of a lot out of 500. Do I round? Only if I believe your behavior and dedication to the class are meritorious. There you go. Academic dishonesty. There's almost no reason for you to plagiarize in this course because we use quotes as part of our evidence. Like, I want you to quote things, and all you have to do is document it with a spoken citation. It's super easy. It's not as hard as like APA or Modern Language Association or Chicago or Urbana or whatever. It's easy to document these things, and I want you to use quotes. So much of your stuff should be quoted. That's copy paste. So the only reason I can consider activating this policy is maybe if you steal someone else's case. And by steal, I mean, literally like take it from them without asking them. I am pretty cool with you working with a group of another group that's working on the same side of the resolution, even if they're in one of my other class sessions. I've had people do that before, where someone from a morning section would work with someone from an afternoon section. That's fine. Like I said, it's kind of difficult for me to activate this policy here. Now, I have done it before in the situation where someone made up research. Don't make up research. If you can't find what you're looking for, let me know, and we can either find a way to make something else work, or we can find it together, or something like that. There's just no reason in this class to feel like you need to plagiarize or make things up. There's just so many things. We talk about controversial stuff. There's just so much information out there. We usually have the opposite problem of just trying to figure out what we want from the huge body of knowledge that's out there. So again, but don't do things that are dishonest, please. Course and instructor evaluation, of course, it's something we put in all the syllabi. After the class is over, you will have the opportunity to rate me and the course. Senior portfolios. If you are a communication studies major, please note that assignments from this course are appropriate for inclusion in your senior portfolio. Similarly, English education portfolios. If you are an English education major, please note that the affirmative debate case assignment from this class is your artifact for DP2. It's identical to the rubric that's on our grade as well. All right, so we use the same rubrics as the people over there in Teachers College for this purpose. You will need 3 copies of this assignment. 1 for the instructor, me. 1 for our grade. It's not called our grade anymore, is it? 1 for TK20, and 1 for Comm Studies. Okay, and then I have some other things I can rant about, but I see it's 10:50. If you're watching this live, class is over. I see that the viewer count went way down, probably because you're packing up, going to your next class. So, thank you for your time today. We'll talk about some of this stuff later. Cliff Notes version, technology policy, bring your laptop. You actually probably need to bring your laptop. So please bring it. If you have any special needs you need, like DSD type stuff, please let me know. I am very accommodating. We shouldn't necessarily have, if we have a pop quiz and stuff and you've got extra time, I will accommodate you. I'm not going to be a crazy person like that. But that's where you need to let me know. Writing and Learning Center, we put this in all the syllabi. You can avail yourself of that. They will help you with this course. They will have someone there that has taken debate before with either me or my boss to assist you. So there you go. Thank you so much. We'll talk about the schedule and go actually over course content on Wednesday. I look forward to meeting you then. Have a great day.